Any day now, Google is going to perfect their autonomous car technology, and we may be driving around in cars that are driving us around. But it's not just a technical problem that needs to be overcome before we get to that point. There are also some very complicated and difficult to answer ethical concerns. For instance, if your car was going along, it was driving you along, and suddenly two people jumped out in front of the car, does it hit them? Does it potentially swerve and put your life at risk? How does it weigh multiple lives versus its driver's life? I mean, we assume it's our car, it should protect us, but at some point it might well be legally mandated, or it might just seem ethical to have them sort of weigh the greater good in situations like that. If it does have to swerve to avoid an accident, does it swerve towards the school bus, towards the Humvee? It has to make many complicated decisions, more complicated than simply identifying and avoiding potential obstacles. And I think that this is going to lead to some very interesting court cases and very interesting ethical discussions at Google.
So last night I watched Silicon Valley, where they had a automated car.
Oh, really?
Right, and it winds up disastrous. Can I do a spoiler on a comedy on Silicon Valley?
I think you're okay.
Okay, it's not like it's Game of Thrones or anything. He winds up in the middle of an island somewhere because somebody programmed the car to go somewhere else, and he can't stop the car.
Exactly.
Which has always
terrifying.
Right?
How it works.
Because somebody is going to figure out a way to hack the system, and they're going to kill people. Mm-hmm. It's going to become a terrorist thing. It is.
So, by the way, we already know that because of a couple studies done by some professors and what Richard Clark, former head of counterterrorism, said, that they can already hack your car.
Yeah.
Right. So they but at least you feel a little bit more in control because you're at the steering wheel. Maybe there's something you could do. Maybe they can't hack into the handbrake.
Sure.
Something.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're in the back seat, I'm with you. There's something really uncomfortable about being disempowered like that.
Now, we should be clear, at this point, they have done many hundreds of thousands of miles of tests, both on highway and in cities, testing. I'm talking particularly about Google here. There's other companies that are testing it, not just in the US, but also in Japan. And as of right now, while the car does take control, there is always a driver sitting in the seat who can at any time take control. Now, I suppose some hacker could lock them out, but as of right now, they can take control, and I believe there's only been 2 accidents so far in Google's autonomous car tests, and both of the accidents have happened while a human was driving the car. So that's just something to take note as we continue the discussion.
All right, now John believes that we should be taken over by robots. You should also keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you in favor of this?
I think that it is inevitable, and it will be awesome. It'll allow us to be much more productive. You'll be able to do things while you're in your car, carry on conversations, watch TV, and also think about how many fewer drunk driving deaths there will be when people can just go out and then pile back into the car, and the car takes them home. You don't have to risk anything.
What if the car gets drunk?
That's
You didn't think about that, did you? Okay.
Ethanol.
Okay. Now back to the moral, ethical issue here. But it is hard to get past it because you do have to program something into the car, right? It's got to make some decision, whereas every one of us would make a different decision, and it would be our decision to make, right? So I might pile into, or I might drive you off the cliff so I don't pile into the school bus. You might pile into the school bus, or vice versa. We don't. So I'm not sure that I want a computer making that decision either.
Yeah.
So take that. Mr. Iadarola.
I think that you bring up a good point, but it is something that we're gonna have to deal with. I mean, they bring up in this article, so Popular Science is talking about this. We also are going to have increasingly sophisticated military robots. So there are going to be similar issues. Do they shoot to kill? Do they shoot to injure? These are things that engineers, in conjunction with ethicists and philosophers, are going to have to figure out. And it's not something that's in the popular discussion about these autonomous cars now.
Yeah, the robots that are from the military, they're going to shoot to kill.
Yeah.
Okay, I've solved that one. Okay, that one's not that complicated, right?
Yeah.
And then John's going to be like, no, it's okay. Let's have a military made of robots. What could possibly go wrong?
Not entirely made of robots, just mostly made of robots. But yeah, so very difficult questions. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, and one of the reasons I push for us to talk about automated cars every 3 months, is we go into the discussion saying, will it lead to deaths? And I guess the corollary to that is, if it leads to deaths, it's a bad thing. But we can't discount the fact that right now, tons of people die because of human errors. There are some interesting philosophical discussions to be had, but eventually they are going to far surpass our ability to avoid accidents. Cars won't get distracted and things like that. They might have difficult decisions to make, but they will make them much faster and more efficiently than we will. Tens of thousands of people die on the road as it is because humans are imperfect. I think we should give robots a try.
You know what, John? You convinced me. I'm going to have TYTU hosted by a robot from now on.
Whoa.